Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
And on this Camper Report show, Bob, we are heading north to Canada. Specifically, we are going to go camping in Ontario. And I will tell you this, the Canadians are welcoming the Americans with open arms. How
Open
about
arms and open borders.
open borders, finally?
I've got a great interview with Whitney Scott of KOA, and we'll be talking about a whole bunch of things, including a little bit on the new North American Camper and Outdoor Hospitality Report
So we're talking a lot about camping today, right here where...
on the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everybody. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro. This is our news segment. His name is Bob Zagami. And Bob, there is a lot going on, and we should tell our audience before we even begin to give them the news, where do we get our news?
From RV Business and Rick Hessler and Ben Quiggle at Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Okay. And we should tell our audience also that we are recording this from Elkhart, Indiana. And we're here because the big RV Power Breakfast is taking place. And we're driving around Elkhart from Elkhart to Goshen to Middlebury. And we're talking with just about every RV manufacturing executive that we can speak with. We're going to have all these stories in the upcoming weeks because there's really going to be too much to report for just one day, right?
Well, you're right. I mean, this is an important week in the RV industry. There's going to be over 1,000 RV industry executives at the Power Breakfast Thursday morning. And, anytime we get a chance to come out to Elkhart and Goshen, we fill the day, from 8 in the morning till 8 at night with visits and appointments and checking out what's new. But we'll have some tremendous stories to bring home with us, that's for sure.
And you know what? One of the interesting stories, everybody's talking about the new audience that is RVing. We've talked about that for a couple of years since COVID. And now officially, our friends at the RV Industry Association, AKA RVIA, have a TikTok page with you tell them how many people are
Well,
on.
yeah, Go RVing does a lot of experiential events. They do a lot of different things with social media, and TikTok is one of them. And that can be a plus or a minus, but they've got over 40,000 followers on the TikTok. There's a lot of controversy about TikTok in terms of what they know about us and how they use the data on there. But it does get out to people. I mean, some of the people have millions of followers on that program.
Absolutely.
And whether we like it or not, as the more mature part of our being audience, the younger generations live and die on social media. They get their actual news from
Oh,
not from non-news stations.
well, that's kind of frightening. It's a topic in itself, but the fact is no one is getting their news today from what we used to consider reliable news sources, because we found that those quote unquote reliable news sources have compromised themselves in so many different ways. So in order to get RVing information out to the general public, we've got to go to new news sources such as TikTok, such as Facebook, such as direct broadcast right to our consumers. So
we have to go where the consumers are, and we have to have the information in front of them at the places where they visit, not where we think it should be. It's where the customer is and what the customer wants to know about our industry.
There they are. So one other quick thing here, this universal road pass, talk about that. I've heard different opinions on this.
Mike Wendland at RV Lifestyle did a little blog on it this week, and it's been out there for a couple of years. We started seeing it at the industry trade shows 2 or 3 years ago. The company claimed, it's called RV Toll Pass. Is it RV Toll? Yeah, RV Toll Pass. They claim that it works with 97% of the automated systems that are out there. That sounds like a lot. What I'd be more concerned about is anytime you try to mix technology with government, they find some way to mess it up. The thought of being able to go, I use Easy Pass, and that hiccups every now and then, and that's just for Maine and Massachusetts. The thought of trying to integrate to all 50 states with those systems, with the billing and the financial, I mean, it's an excellent idea. But with all the technology that we're throwing out at RV, is they've got GPS systems, they've got the social media contacts. There's so many things on the technology side. Good luck to them in trying to pull it off, but do we need another bill and another transponder? You probably already have an Easy Pass transformer or some other system. You probably have a transponder for where you live, any gated community. You're going to have another sticker on the windshield for a universal toll pass, and that's only for your RV activity.
Right. And that is also another opportunity to have your financial information compromised.
Right.
And nobody will admit it up front, but look, crazy stuff has happened with the large banks.
It's news. We'll talk about it, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. So that is what's going on. We got to get out of here because we've got to leave this part of where we are and drive 30 miles to the other side of Elkhart County because we've got appointments. And this is the Camper Report Show. And thank you for joining us. Stay with us, everybody.
Mike here from RV Blogger. Don't waste hundreds of dollars on an external GPS for your RV. All you need to do is download the RV Life app right onto your phone. This app is so cool. It has RV GPS built right into it. So you can load all the specific measurements and weights for your RV. It'll give you directions safe for your RV to follow. And by the way, if you have RV Trip Wizard, directions for your trips upload into this GPS automatically.
All right, welcome back everybody to the Camper Report Show, and I'm delighted to have Saskia Bookman, Director of Social and Content at KOA, and she's a good friend, and I always love to have KOA on the show because you folks do so much for the industry itself. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at KOA, and then we're going to get into some of the North American Camping Report.
First, excuse the dog if you see him in the background, like so many campers and RVers. I am a pet owner, so sometimes he wants to be interviewed as well. But as you mentioned,
dogs are allowed, and they can even bark if they want to.
He tends to be quiet, so we should be good. But if he has a point, I'm sure he'll interject. So as you mentioned, I'm Saskia Bookman. I've been with KOA for just over 8 years, and currently I'm KOA's Director of Social and Content. So that means I'm sort of in charge of KOA's social voice and voice on the KOA blog. That's me. In my previous role, I also managed KOA's PR. And within that, I became very deeply involved with KOA's research. So I am actually one of the largest contributors to the KOA North American Camping Report, which this year we've expanded to call it the North American Camping and Hospitality Report. So been deep ingrained in that research, and a lot of good stuff has come out of it, which is great to see.
Well, let me just put a plug in for KOA on that. It has always amazed me, the level of sharing that you do with the RV and the outdoor hospitality industry on this report. Very few companies would spend the amount of money and do the research that you do and share it with competitors, campgrounds, or even companies that are thinking about getting into the RV and the outdoor hospitality space. And if they don't read it, then they're nuts. And I say to all of our dealers, this should be mandatory reading for every salesperson, because guess what? It's our customers that are out there that are in these campgrounds.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, a rising tide raises all ships. I mean, there are, according to our report, 92 million American households that consider themselves campers. So if you think about how many households there are, that is most of the US consider themselves to be campers at some level. KOA is never going to facilitate all of those camping nights. And I think the other thing we know as well is there are so many different ways to camp, right? From your backcountry camper who is going to strap a tent on their backpack, all the way up to your person who's maybe going to have a Prevost, a very expensive RV, or a person who prefers a cabin. There are a lot of people out there, and it benefits KOA and benefits everybody if we can know more about this industry and more about the people who want to get outdoors with us.
And I imagine that drove the name change on the report, because it's now North American Camping and Outdoor Hospitality Report. Because of that, there are so many different types of campers, RVs, different styles that people use the outdoor. How important was it for you, this being the year that you changed that title?
Yeah, so one part of it was that you may know KOA also has a glamping arm. We have our first glamping only resort called Terramore. That's located in Bar Harbor, Maine. And so last year we actually did 2 separate reports. We did a camping report, which we've done. This is our 9th iteration. And then we did a glamping report in the fall that was run through Terramore. And it became very clear to us, while both of those provided great information, we were doing a little bit of a disservice by separating that, because ultimately there are people that would maybe consider themselves a glamper, but not a camper. Well, in reality, those are super intertwined. So when we thought, hey, how can we be more inclusive? We decided we wanted to move to talking not just about the camper, but outdoor hospitality as a whole. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's camping, it's setting up a tent, it's doing all of these things, but that hospitality aspect is really important for us to be aware of. And we very much are in the same class in camping as the Hiltons and the Holiday Inns. And we shouldn't think of ourselves as recreation. We're not recreation. Camping, RVing, this is a very popular way to travel. And it's important that we look at that holistically and not sell ourselves short by just saying, oh, we're campers, we're RVers, because it's more than that.
Well, and I liken it to the fact that people understand the hotel industry, but it's basically, we cover everything from Motel 6 to the Ritz-Carlton. So why shouldn't we have that same depth of breadth with the options that we have for RVers and campers in general?
Absolutely. And yeah, just because we're outdoors doesn't mean that we are that different from hotels. Yes, we are in a lot of ways, but we are still providing a service. We're providing a place for people to stay. So we need to think of ourselves maybe a little bit more like those brands that you mentioned.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the research itself, how you do it, who you do it, and the things that you might have added to the report this year.
Yes. So we take our research very, very seriously. So there are a lot of people researching out in the world, and a lot of different ways to perform research. But at KOA, it's really important that we are doing that research independently. So we are actually not performing it. We work with a group called the Cairn Consulting Group out of Maine, and we've worked with Scott Barr, who owns that for more than a decade on different research initiatives. So he completes that on our behalf, him and his team. So they are sending out basically a research survey. And now we do some monthly research as well. So over the course of the last year, we've interviewed 20,000 campers. And that's not just KOA campers. That is people that are basically served this survey online. So it is completely independent. We do not know what is going to come back any given year. And that's very important to us. We want this data to be as accurate as possible. So, and especially this year, making it a little bit more broad, we actually did survey some leisure travelers as well. So people that don't consider themselves campers, what are they looking for? What do they do when they travel? And that allows us to answer bigger questions. Like, for example, we know that over 30% of all leisure trips taken last year were a camping trip. That's pretty sizable. When I say camping, I mean RVing as well. That's included in that. I mean, that's no small piece of travel in the United States. That's large. And I think that speaks to how important this industry is.
Well, and the other thing is, if you look at this industry, whether it's the RV and the hardware and the vehicles or the hospitality end of it, I don't think, and this is not a pat on the back, because I think you folks do a fantastic job. But I don't know of any other snapshot of market research. And I've worked with Scott before, and I see him a couple of times a year. I know what goes into that, and it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know of any other report that if somebody said to you, pick out one, if you really want to learn about our industry, and you can read one report, it has to be this one. Right?
I mean, I'm a little biased, but I'll take your word for it. I do think we work very hard on it. So just so you know a little bit of the scope, from survey to inception, it takes us about 3.5 to 4 months to put it all together. So it's definitely no small feat. And we want to be valuable research that is going to make a difference, not just to us, but to the industry as a whole. So I appreciate hearing that. I mean, and just so you know too, the actual data we get back from Scott is usually around 150 to 175 pages. So we've actually pared it down quite a bit to try to tell some more stories and make it flow a little nicer. So it's a big project for sure.
Well, I've watched it from its inception, and Now, this being you did the 2 reports last year, now you did the 1 report this year. Because I know you're always thinking about next year. You have to, if you're doing market research, you have to.
Of course.
What did you learn? Now, you don't have to give out trade secrets, but what did you learn from this evolution with adding the outdoor hospitality of it that you might think about adding next year? What surprised you in the research, or what facts came out that perhaps you weren't looking at before?
I don't know if for me anything really surprised me. I did find it interesting that the majority of campers do find that elevated level of service of some level to be important. So they do want services and amenities, even if they are somebody that considers themselves a backcountry camper. They would expect when they get to that trailhead that it's clearly marked and those things. And that's a level of service as well. So I think it's important for us to know that all the things that we do on a campground or an RV dealership, all of that is so service-based, and it reflects on the whole kind of experience and life cycle of owning an RV or going camping. I think that we assume that maybe campers and RVers don't expect quite as much because they aren't a hotel guest, and that's simply not true. They still want that human touch, because I think at the end of the day, when you are choosing where to spend your time off and your vacation time, you want those things, whether it's, going all the way to the glamping end and being really ritzy, or just having a really friendly, person smiling and saying hello to you when you check in at your local campground down the road. So I think that's something that stood out a lot for me.
And you did that in a period of time where we were coming out of a pandemic that saw 50% of our buyers being new buyers who never knew what a campground was, who never knew what an RV was. So, we looked at 50 years of how we used to do things, and all of a sudden the world was turned upside down, and you have, we sold a 500,000 during the heyday there, but you have 250,000 people coming into our industry that know nothing about our industry. So that message has to get down to the people who are greeting them, who are taking them to the site, answering any questions that they have that are going to be more voluminous with this type of camper. So what kind of programs did you put in at the campground level to make sure you were still meeting customer expectations?
So the pandemic is, as you all know, was an interesting time for both sides of our industry. As you mentioned, we saw a lot of new people come in who maybe wouldn't have considered camping and RVing before, kind of out of necessity. And not all of them stuck around. People are going back to other ways of travel, but many of them did. And so when we were seeing that new camper come in, one thing that's been a big emphasis for us is that education piece, right? Things that they don't know on a campground. For example, the things that might to an RVer seem very obvious, like you don't walk through somebody's site, and quiet hours are a thing, and your dog needs to be on a leash. And so that education piece, which I'm sure the dealers experience as well, was a big thing. And then, of course, how do you still offer that service when you can't have human contact? So we instituted contact-free check-in using our KOA app, so that people wouldn't have to interface when they were checking in. However, still adding a level of service into that. So it changed a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I think we have to still remember that the core product is the great outdoors, and that's still the same. So it's how can we show people how wonderful nature is, and then keep them coming back for more. And they are coming back, so which is a good thing.
Yeah, and they're staying in the lifestyle. We're coming up a little bit short here, but I know that you are in the process of building a new corporate headquarters, and I know Toby and Whitney are very excited about this. Tell us why it was important to have a corporate headquarters more reflective of your business models.
Yes, so we are building a new headquarters that's expected to be full of people in August, which is very exciting. So we've been in a space here in Billings since the late 80s or early 80s for a while. And, it's a great space, but it's not ours. It doesn't, when you walk into it, it doesn't reflect camping. And I think one thing that's really important is, our mission is connecting people to the outdoors and each other. And that also means our employees. So we wanted to create a space, one, that we own, so we're not leasing anymore. And then two, that felt like as much as you can feel like you're on a campground while being in an office. So, a lot of wood surface, a lot of light coming into the building, windows you can open. It's going to be a really great, beautiful
views
space
around the area. And
yeah, beautiful views, and then really mindful too in the landscaping to keep it all natural to what would be here in Montana, which is going to be really cool. And then we are going to be a LEED certified building, so making sure that everywhere we can be, we're being sustainable and green, because obviously that is so crucial to us being able to continue this industry for many years and decades to come.
You're right. And we're asking our campers to be environmentally responsive to do that. So you're setting the example. Can I tell you one quick story before we wrap this up?
Go for it.
And it's personal, but you're going to love it. So I've been camping for 40 years. I have two daughters who are now 45 and 41. They've been camping. In the early years, they camped with us. They're off on their own careers now. They're very successful. We were having dinner with them last summer one time, and I said, what are you going to do for vacation? They said, oh, we've already taken vacation, Dad. I said, really? Where'd you go? One of them went to Auto Camp and wanted to rent an Airstream trailer. The other one went to Terramore in Arcadia. She goes up and she's been back 3 times since. Now think of the juxtaposition here. His dad, 40 years a camper, 27 years writing and consulting about the industry, 2 daughters, and your marketing is so direct that they didn't relate what they were doing in the outdoors. Their generation didn't relate to what Dad's been doing for 40 years. So they never called me up and say, hey, Dad, I want to go to Terramore. Do you know anybody over? Not that they don't have to. They can support themselves. They do it themselves. But we didn't have the conversation. And that's the greatest thing about this industry, that we can have a very tight-knit family. We've been married for 55 years. And I have 2 daughters who on their own said, they got this place called Terramore up in Acadia, and it sounds fantastic. And once she went, she's been back 3 times since. So congratulations on your marketing. It was a target. You couldn't have had a better target.
We hit it right on. Well, I think it also points out to just how much people want to have these kind of experiences. And so they are seeking them out. Like, obviously, yes, there's a marketing angle to that as well, but campers, especially campers and RVers, they seek new experiences. And that's a big thing we saw to the report this year too. Even if they have a way of camping that is their usual way, they want to try something new this year. So that might be going glamping. It might be renting an RV for the first time. And I think that's really cool as well, is that there's a lot of trial even within the group of camping and RVing when you're already in it. So there's lots of ways we can continue to engage with our campers, which is fabulous.
You really are. Saskia Bookman, Director of Social and Content. Fantastic interview. You can come back anytime. And thank you for what you do for the industry. We really appreciate it. And any last words for the Camper Report Show fans?
Well, I would love you to know that there is probably more great research to come. I think one of our goals at KOA is to kind of continue to grow that library of research. So there will be more, lots of reading. I just want to keep you reading all the time. So please feel free to hop on our website and check it out. If you just Google North American Camping Report or North American Camping and Outdoor Hospitality Report, either way, it'll pop right up. And 56 pages of bedside reading.
I tell everybody to get it, and quite honestly, I don't leave home without it. It is always in my briefcase. It is always on my computer, or the paper copies in the briefcase. Saskia, thank you very much. Enjoyable, and we will catch up to you down the road.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro, and this is the part of our show where we have a special guest talk about a special place to go RVing. And this year, finally, we can go back to Canada, eh? So Our guest is Alexandra Anderson from Camping in Ontario. And Alexandra, I bet your people are very happy to see more Americans than ever coming back this year than in the past few years, would you say?
Definitely. We would be more than happy to have our American friends come back up and visit us.
Yeah. We've visited there so often, and we should tell our folks that because this is a national show, that we can't assume that everybody knows where Ontario is. I mean, we can just buzz up to Ottawa for the weekend without any issues. But for those people that are watching the show from other parts of the US and around the world, tell us geographically where Ontario sits within the Canadian landscape.
So Ontario is blessed to be bordered by 4 of the Great Lakes. So I always say to my American friends, you guys get the southern part of Lake Ontario, and we get the northern part of Lake Ontario. We share Lake Erie with our friends from Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. We share Lake Huron with Michigan, and and Minnesota, which I just found out. I didn't realize that there was a little tip there. And so that's sort of the geographic of where we are. We are definitely to the north of all of those, all of the Great Lakes, and to the east and to the west. So that sort of gives you a geographic area of where we are. You can drive to New York City in about 7 hours from Toronto, which is where I'm sitting from. We're, I think, 4 to 6 hours from Chicago. So we really are very accessible. Philadelphia is also a fairly easy drive. So, I mean, we are very accessible for all of our friends sort of sitting in this part of the world. But we are really known for our water. We really, truly are. In fact, Ontario is actually an Algonquin word for water. And I better make sure that I wrote that correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is I've got my official Camping in Ontario sweatshirt on because we were there, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and we had such a great time. And when you say water, it's not just the lakes that you had mentioned, but the waterways up there are absolutely spectacular. And I don't know if there's anywhere in the United States that can match that. The waterways, from the locks in Peterborough to all the lakes that it goes through. Talk a little bit. Is it Trent Severn? Is that your?
Yeah. We have the Trent Severn, and then we have the Ottawa lock system as well. So Ontario, just to sort of put it into perspective, you're absolutely right, John. We have about 250,000 lakes in the province, and that's not including the big guys.
Yep.
We are definitely a people of water. If you don't like humidity in the summer, this is not a place for you because we do have so much water. Our weather is very dependent on the humidity levels. But yeah, we have, I think my favorite conversation was I was talking to a group that had kayaked.
Oh, wow.
From one part of the province to another through the lock systems. And it had taken them a number of days, but they actually took their kayaks. And I was like going, that would be crazy because the lock system the locks are a British invention. They are basically from, they were built, a lot of it was built for the War of 1812. And it allows the boats to traverse up and down the difference in the waterways. So it's right beside a waterfall. They're fascinating to watch. And if a lot of the Parks Canada systems will allow you to actually tent or if you want to park your RV for the day and just simply watch the boats to go through, it's a great day.
We've done that. I'm trying to figure out the little town, but Biscoe.
We're probably in Bob
Cajun. Yep, exactly right. It's a great little town. But the thing I need to tell people is that, this is an RV show. We're talking about RVing, but the beauty that we found last time is that they have these houseboats that are on the water. Many times they're rentable, where you can traverse the system. And they look just like floating RVs. In fact, some of the handmade ones are actual travel trailers that they just put on the water. But the beauty of it is that many of them are located, many of the locks and the centers of commerce are located on areas where RVers can pull up to, like you just said with Bobcaygeon. But you know, and I remember Skanderasca, right?
Sandaraska.
That was one that you could bring your horse, right? You travel with your horse and you have your RV set up, and then you have a little corral with a whole trail setting. So the reason I say that, Alexandra, is that there's really something for everyone in Ontario, regardless of what type of RVing that you do, whether it's primitive with tenting or, you know, you have the big motorhomes.
Yes, we really do have everything. We also cater, we have quite a few campgrounds that have full water parks. You know, if you have a specific sort of experience that you want, I can pretty well find you that experience in the province, whether, you know, whatever system, whatever park you need or want, we pretty well have it covered. I can't think of any park that we don't have covered right now.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's so much confusion. What are the documents that you need right now for humans to cross from the U.S. into Canada? What do you need as far as passports and passport cards, et cetera? What's the current?
Passports. A passport. I mean, you know what? I just think it's the easiest way to go. I should have looked it up to see if they have an enhanced driver's license, I believe, between some of the northern states. But you know what? You're better off to just have your passport, and then it's easy sailing across both sides.
Okay. And is that the same for children under 12? Do they need official passports? Okay, so same thing there.
Everybody needs a passport.
Now, the other passenger that appears in at least 50% of the RVs these days are pets.
Yeah.
What do you need for pet documentation? Because that many times can be a very touchy subject.
Yes, so Fidos are more than welcome up here, but make sure you have all of your vaccination certificates with them. I have only ever produced my vaccination certificates once, taking my dogs across the border, but you know what? You don't know. And then I did check to make sure, because I have heard of this one. Pigs, birds, horses, rodents, turtles are permitted in Canada, granted that they have proper documentation. And then for exact specifications on crossing with your pets, we really, you know, strongly suggest you talk to the government of Canada. It's all on their website as well.
I got to tell you, you went above and beyond on research for that, because that was not one of the questions. I haven't seen any. You know what? I've seen bird people, but I haven't seen anybody with a swine come through. But nevertheless. How about, what's the currency situation right now? And again, we're taping this in the beginning of May. How's the exchange rate? Is it favorable to Americans?
Very favorable right now. It's about $1.35.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's very, very, very favorable.
Which means to our U.S. folks, you will get more for your dollar in Canada now. Okay. Talk about the diversity of how do I say this the right way? You've got major cities. You've got Toronto, one of North America's hubs. You've got Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, but is a much smaller city. But there's several other, Merrickville, that's one that you told us about.
Yeah.
There's really, I know I hate to sound like I work for camping in Ontario, but we're so looking forward to it because of things that we did last time. Talk about the diversity of attractions, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, again, Ontario is a huge landmass, and I mean, just to sort of give you a perspective of how big Ontario is it takes us almost 2 days to drive from the eastern part of the province to the west. and we're still driving in Ontario, to just give you an idea of the vastness of this province.
Yep.
And some of that obviously is caused by our lakes. You know, Toronto in itself is close to 8 million people, which is a fairly large city. And if you've ever been stuck in our traffic, then you know that you've had a long time to spend in Toronto. But you know, we really do have everything. You know, we have experiences. We have an amazing Indigenous culture and heritage in this province. And there's ample opportunity now, which is a wonderful thing, to be able to sample true Indigenous experiences all throughout the province. We have, you know, if you want to go, we have, I don't know how many waterfalls. We have the waterfalls experience if you want to do that. Kayaking, obviously, any type of water sports abounds in this province. You can actually go see polar bears if you wish. If you're in the north, then the northern part of Ontario is more rustic. But if it depends what type of experience you want. If you are a fisher person, I am told you stick to the north. In the south, obviously, you know, we also have a lot of fishing experiences, but I am told if you want the big fish, you go north. As you can tell, I don't fish.
Wow, I'll tell you, you know what? And I know when we were there last time, there was a lot of rain or snow, and the lake. What's the river that runs into Montreal? The big
St.
one.
Lawrence.
St. Lawrence was like overflowing up
Yes.
in the Thousand Island area of New York, and you know, you'd see these fisher persons, can't call them fishermen anymore. They're all over the place, and the lakes, I'm sure, provide a totally different type of fishing. I know that Bobcaygeon is a big destination for fishing, and all those tiny lakes up there are really cool. So now, if people want to go online, Alexandra, to find out this information, where is your website that people can seek to get info?
Yeah, so we are www.campinginontario.ca.
Just like this.
Exactly like that. Ontario also has, so we represent predominantly the municipal and the privately owned campgrounds.
Yep.
Our campgrounds cater more to RVers. Most of our parks offer 30 amp service. Some of them offer 50 amp. We're just beginning to embark on installing some e-chargers for some of the e-cars and some campgrounds right now. That is a priority for a lot of our parks. So we cater to the RV crowd. But we do also have a national park system, which is called Parks Canada. They too have some campgrounds in the province, and they have some of the most iconic experiences in the province. We're lucky where a lot of our private parks are also situated around them. And then we have our provincial park system, which is very similar to your state parks.
Yep.
And they also have offerings all over the province. The provincial parks, however, tend to cater more to the smaller RVs and don't necessarily offer full hookup. But the good thing about all of our systems is that most of them all are online. So everybody can do an online reservation. And there are some parts of the province that I would strongly recommend.
Early.
Don't try to show up because
Yep.
you will be disappointed because of the popularity.
Great. Hey, we want to thank you so much for taking time from your busy day to tell us about camping in Ontario. I know that and here's the thing. There are so many border crossings from the U.S. into there. If you stay away from the major ones, you can buzz right through. And we're looking forward to doing that this year. And want to let you know that you are watching the Camper Report Show. And if you really want to go camping, consider this year doing what, Alexandra?
Come camping in Ontario. We want to have our American friends back.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.